Hey everyone, welcome back to Hacky Lessons for another One Piece deck profile, and this time we are doing Trafalgar Law. So I wanted to do something a little bit different from what everyone else is doing because a lot of the lists look the same with Straw Hats, Rush, Zoro, the whole 9 yards. Obviously, playing Zoro off the Trafalgar Law 5 cost is the best way to play this deck. It is an amazing combo. So it's a must-have, but what I wanted to do was make this all Supernovas and Wano. So besides Zoro and Luffy, who count as Supernovas, there are no Straw Hats in this deck. Now, Robin is very much a mainstay in most builds, and for good reason. It's a pretty good card, but I wanted to try something different. I wanted to put a profile out that was different from the rest, see if I could do well with it. And obviously I wouldn't put a list up on here unless I tested it and made sure that it was actually a good deck. So tonight I played it and I went 3-1. My first game was a loss, and that was to Blue Purple Kaido, and it was just a combination of me playing very badly. It's a bad matchup, and just didn't really get a board going and just died. It was terrible. But round 2, I had to play a mirror match against Law. Mirror match is annoying with this deck, I really think. But I won that, and then round 3, I had to play Mono Purple Kaido. Another bad matchup. Purple is not fun for Law because of all the ways they're destroying your board, which goes against what you're trying to do. And then in the final round, I played another mirror match. So Law is pretty popular at the moment. Let's get into the list. So obviously the leader card, we know by now. He has the ability to activate main once per turn to Don. If you have 5 characters, return one of your characters to your hand and then play a character of 5 or less cost. That is a different color than the returned card. So it's either Supernovas or Wano Country cards. So obviously the most important card of the deck is Jewelry Bonnie. And then for Momos as well. If you don't know how this deck works yet, what you really want to do is build up a board, and the easiest way to do it is to play low-cost cards. So 4 blockers that are Gang Beji, and my other blocker is the 2-cost Killer. This card is great because you just put a Don on it, and then when you block it, you get to draw a card. So that is very valuable. For its ability to work, you need 3 or more characters, including itself, but this deck is all about having characters on board, so you will do that pretty easily. Next up, we have some Wano Country cards. Here we have Otama on play, minus 2,000 to something, or she's a 2k counter in hand. With this deck, you do want to have, it doesn't need to be a perfect balance, but you do need to use red and green because the leader ability is swapping one color card for another. Otama will often be the target because you'll play Otama to weaken something, and then you'll swap into Law by taking Otama back to your hand. The other 2k counter is Izo. If you need to play him, he is 3 costs on play, rest one of your opponent's characters for cost of 4 or less. So that is a good way of dealing with blockers. And another Wano Country card, and this is Hyogoro. So the reason I included this card, because it is a little bit left of field to say the least, is in my original build and when I was using Straw Hats and that, I was using Brook. Brook is on play, give 2 rested Don cards to your leader or one of your characters. Side note, I think Law is the only deck you should actually play Brook. Otherwise, he's just kind of, why do that? You'd rather be a 2k counter in hand. Anyway, Hyogoro kind of does the same thing. So he is the same cost and power, and he has an activate main. You may rest this character, your leader, or one of your characters gains 2k power for the duration of this turn. So that is the same power boost that 2 rested Don will be giving you. And the bonus thing is if Hyogoro stays on board, you can keep on using his effect. He is just kind of a weird little thing I wanted to try, and it did help me a couple times during my games tonight. And the other reason is because he's Wano, so Momonosuke can find him. And now I have 3 copies of the promo Law. He has the same ability as Otama, but he's 4 costs with 5k power. So sometimes there'll be moments where you don't have a rush card to swap into. Maybe you swap into this instead, and then you kill something that's weaker because he's on play helped you out there. Now, the must-haves. Obviously, every deck is doing this. We got 4 copies of Rush Zoro and 4 copies of the 5-cost Law. This Law you'll swap with an Otama perhaps, or maybe you play Zoro, tap with it, and then you use your leader ability to swap Law with Zoro, and then Law's own ability will swap something else for a new Zoro. And we also have 3 copies of Rush Luffy. This one can't be targeted by this Law, but it can be targeted by this Law. So this is just a one-off, and the idea is if I have the Rush Luffy out, maybe he has some Don attached to him even, what this does is restand 5 cost or less. So that can restand Luffy, and if you've got Luffy powered up, the more the better. The blocker Law is better though, generally speaking, because it is a blocker, so you get him on board and that is good. 2 copies of Yamato, just because you have access to green, and I love this card, but it's never quite the right play. So I like it there just in case I get a chance to use him, but it doesn't happen very often. And then a 1 copy of Kid. This card is a good way of stopping your opponent from attacking anything else. It really helped me in round 4 where my opponent really made a point of making me have no board and cards in hand while he had a big board. But I managed to get him down to 0 life while I had all of my life. And I played this, and that was basically GG. That won me the game. For event cards, 3 copies of Jet Pistol. I would really like it to be at 4, but there was moments where I was like, well, I need to include this, and something needed to be cut. But if I could put this at 4, I would. And now I have 1 copy of I'm Going to Be King of the Pirates. This is a great card in this deck specifically because the more cards on board, the better this card is. So if you have a full board, you will be paying 2 Don to make your leader 10k. This is basically a going for game card. I did try it at 2, and I just felt like it was dead in hand because you want it to be for your last attack, make your leader strong, and swing for game. So just 1 of is fine because it's just going to sit in your hand. And then 2 copies of Red Hawk. Most Law lists I've seen aren't really playing many event counter cards. My reasoning for putting these in was basically because I'm not running Robin. So it's kind of a roundabout way of doing what Robin does. So when I counter with this, it will KO something with 4k power or less, which is what Robin does. So that's defensive, plus you can do what you usually do with Robin and kill a blocker or whatever. I was just finding when I was playing with Robin in my build, it didn't really suit my playstyle in a way. But it is a good card. I'm going to go to another locals tomorrow night, and I'm going to try more of a straw hatty build. And if that turns out good, I'll do another profile, and that'll be the more straw hat focused deck build. But this is the Wano Supernovas build. So I hope you enjoy that, and if you give it a go and play with it, let me know how you go with it. See how good it is. Alright, I'll catch you soon, perhaps for a Straw Hats Law deck profile.